Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to speak to you about something that has confounded humanity for centuries, something that has been deliberately mystified and made complex when it is, in truth, beautifully simple. I want to speak to you about money. Not as a piece of paper, not as numbers in an account, but as what it truly is. Crystallized imagination, solidified consciousness, the very substance of your own wonderful human imagination made manifest in the world of Caesar. You see, my friends, most of you have been hypnotized into believing that money is separate from you. You've been taught to chase it, to struggle for it, to worship it, to fear its absence. But tonight I'm here to wake you from this collective dream and show you something revolutionary. You don't attract money, you are money. You don't get abundance, you are abundance. The very energy that creates galaxies, that spins atoms, that beats your heart, is the same energy that appears to you as money. The man who taught me these truths, my old friend Abdullah, once said to me when I complained about my financial circumstances, "Neville, you are the operant power. Stop looking at your bank account to determine your wealth. Your wealth is determined in consciousness, and your bank account merely reflects what you have accepted as true about yourself." I want you to understand this clearly. Every dollar that has ever come to you came first as an assumption in your consciousness. Every financial breakthrough you've experienced began as a mental acceptance of prosperity. Every penny you've lost started as an unconscious acceptance of lack. The outer world of money is nothing but the shadow cast by your inner convictions about yourself. Now you may ask, "Neville, how can I become the energy of money when my circumstances scream poverty? How can I feel abundant when my bills are unpaid?" And I say to you, this is precisely when the work must be done. Anyone can feel abundant when their account overflows. But can you feel the thrill of wealth when your wallet is empty? Can you carry yourself with the confidence of a millionaire when the world tells you you're broke? This is the test of a true student of the law. Let me tell you about the nature of money from the mystical perspective. In the ancient teachings, money represents the element of earth, the densest, most material expression of spirit. It is spirit slowed down to such a degree that it appears solid, permanent, scarce. But in truth, it is as fluid as water, as changeable as thought, as abundant as air. The mystics knew that to master money, one must first master the art of mental transformation. I once had a student, a man named Robert, who came to me completely broken financially. His business had failed, his home was in foreclosure, and his family had lost faith in him. He said to me, "Neville, I've tried everything. I've worked 18-hour days. I've taken every opportunity, but money seems to slip through my fingers like sand." I said to him, "Robert, you've been working in the world of effect, trying to change circumstances by manipulating circumstances. But money is not created in the world of effect. It's created in the world of cause, which is consciousness itself." I taught him what I'm teaching you tonight, that he must become money in consciousness before money could become his, in fact. For 3 months, Robert faithfully practiced what I call the golden thread technique. Every night before sleep, he would imagine a golden thread connecting his heart to an infinite source of supply. He would feel this thread pulsing with abundance, drawing to him everything he needed. He would imagine money flowing to him through this thread, not as payment for struggle, but as his natural inheritance as a son of the Most High. But here's what made Robert's technique so powerful. He didn't just imagine receiving money. He imagined being worthy of money, being someone to whom money naturally gravitated. He saw himself as a steward of abundance, someone through whom prosperity could flow to bless others. This shift from receiver to channel transformed everything. The breakthrough came in an unexpected way. Robert was walking past a construction site when he overheard 2 contractors arguing about a problem that was costing them thousands of dollars daily. Robert had encountered this exact problem years earlier in his failed business and had developed a solution. Within an hour, he had not only solved their problem, but had been offered a consulting contract worth more than he had made in the previous 2 years. Let me share with you another profound truth about money that most people never realize. Money has memory. Every bill, every coin, Every transaction carries the consciousness of everyone who has handled it. When you receive money with gratitude and joy, you add to its positive memory. When you spend money with resentment or fear, you contaminate its energy. This is why the wealthy seem to attract money so effortlessly, not because they're lucky, but because they handle money with respect, confidence, and appreciation. Their consciousness elevates the very money they touch, and money, having consciousness, prefers to return to those who honor its nature. I learned this lesson in the most dramatic way during my early years in New York. I was struggling as a dancer, barely earning enough to eat. One day I found a crumpled $5 bill on the street, a fortune to me then. My first impulse was to rush to the nearest restaurant and satisfy my gnawing hunger. But something Abdullah had taught me stopped me cold. He had said, "Neville, the first money that comes to you when you change your consciousness is a test. How you treat this first gift determines how quickly and abundantly the rest will follow." So instead of spending that $5 on food, I took it to my small room, smoothed it out carefully, and held it while I prayed a prayer of gratitude. I thanked that $5 bill for coming to me. I blessed it and asked it to multiply and return to me with friends. Then I placed it in my Bible and left it there for 3 days, reading scripture about abundance each time I opened the book. When I finally spent it, I spent it on something beautiful. A small bouquet of flowers for the landlady who had been patient with my late rent. Within a week, opportunities began appearing from nowhere. A fellow dancer recommended me for a role I hadn't auditioned for. A stranger overheard me discussing my financial struggles and offered me odd jobs that paid remarkably well. By the end of the month, I had earned more than I had in the previous 3 months combined. You see, my friends, money is not merely currency, it's communication. Every financial transaction is a conversation between your consciousness and the infinite supply of the universe. When you pay bills with resentment, you're saying, "I don't have enough and I resent having to give this away." The universe responds by creating more situations where you feel you don't have enough. But when you pay bills with gratitude, you're saying, "I am so abundant that money flows through me to bless others." The universe responds by creating more situations where money can flow through you. This is not mystical nonsense. This is the practical application of consciousness to financial reality. You see, my friends, money is not merely currency. It's communication. Every financial transaction is a conversation between your consciousness and the infinite supply of the universe. When you pay bills with resentment, you're saying, "I don't have enough, and I resent having to give this away." The universe responds by creating more situations where you feel you don't have enough. But when you pay bills with gratitude, you're saying, "I am so abundant that money flows through me to bless others." The universe responds by creating more situations where money can flow through you. This is not mystical nonsense. This is the practical application of consciousness to financial reality. Let me teach you what I call the sacred exchange principle. Every time money changes hands, there is an opportunity for blessing or cursing, for elevation or diminishment. When you pay for something, you have 3 choices. You can pay with resentment. Cursing the exchange, you can pay with indifference, neutral exchange, or you can pay with gratitude and blessing, elevating the exchange. The wealthy intuitively understand this principle. They don't just buy things, they invest in relationships. They support dreams. They participate in the flow of abundance. Even when they pay taxes, they see it as their contribution to the infrastructure that supports their prosperity. This consciousness of sacred exchange is what keeps money circulating back to them in ever-increasing amounts. Now let me tell you about what I call the assumption of wealth. This goes far deeper than mere positive thinking or visualization. This is about assuming the fundamental identity of someone to whom money flows naturally and effortlessly. It's about answering the question, who would I be if I had never known financial worry? The assumption of wealth is not about having millions in the bank. It's about having the consciousness that creates millions. It's about thinking like someone who has never doubted their ability to provide for themselves and their loved ones. It's about moving through the world with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are connected to an inexhaustible source. I remember a woman named Margaret who attended my lectures in Los Angeles. She was a school teacher, earning barely enough to survive, supporting her elderly mother and her sister's children after her sister's death. She came to me and said, "Neville, I understand what you teach about assumption. But how can I assume wealth when I can barely make ends meet?" I taught her the exercise I'm about to share with you. I said, "Margaret, every morning when you wake up, before your feet touch the floor, I want you to lie still and imagine that you are waking up in the master bedroom of your dream home. Feel the luxury of the bed sheets, smell the fresh flowers that your housekeeper has placed in crystal vases, hear the sound of the fountain in your courtyard. But most importantly, feel the deep peace that comes from knowing you can provide abundantly for everyone you love." For the first month, Margaret found this exercise almost impossible. Her circumstances seemed to mock her imagination. Bills piled up, unexpected expenses arose, and her mother's medical needs increased. But I encouraged her to persist, reminding her that imagination is the only reality, and everything else is shadow. Gradually, something began to shift. Margaret noticed that she was walking differently, speaking with more authority, making decisions with greater confidence. She stopped apologizing for her circumstances and started speaking about her future with certainty. When opportunities for extra income arose, instead of desperately grasping at them, she evaluated them with the discernment of someone who had many options. The transformation accelerated when Margaret began to give from her imagination of wealth, rather than from her circumstances of lack. Even though her bank account was nearly empty, she would mentally allocate portions of her imaginary abundance to help others. She would imagine setting up scholarships, funding community programs, supporting young teachers. What happened next can only be described as miraculous. Margaret received a call from a lawyer she had never met. It turned out that a former student of hers, now a successful businessman, had died and left her a substantial inheritance. His will stated that she had been the only teacher who had truly believed in him, and he wanted to ensure she never had to worry about money again. But the gift didn't stop there. The inheritance came with instructions for Margaret to establish an educational foundation, fulfilling exactly the vision she had been imagining during her morning exercises. Within 2 years, she had become one of the most influential educational philanthropists in the state, channeling millions of dollars to programs that transform children's lives. When Margaret came to thank me, she said something I'll never forget. "Neville, I realized now that I wasn't imagining my future, I was remembering my true nature. The wealth wasn't coming to me, it was coming through me, because I had finally accepted that I am a channel for infinite abundance." This brings me to perhaps the most important teaching I can share with you tonight about money. You are not the destination of wealth, you are the vehicle of wealth. Money does not flow to you to stop with you, but to flow through you to accomplish great purposes. When you understand this, when you see yourself as a steward rather than an accumulator, money begins to trust you with greater and greater amounts. The universe is always seeking channels through which it can express its abundance. It's looking for people who can handle wealth without being corrupted by it, who can receive abundance without becoming selfish, who can prosper without forgetting their connection to others. When you prove yourself to be such a channel, wealth flows to you not as a reward but as a responsibility and an opportunity to serve. Let me share with you the technique that has produced more millionaires among my students than any other. I call it the generous millionaire meditation. Every night, as you prepare for sleep, imagine that you have just received news that you have inherited $10 million. But here's the crucial part. Instead of imagining what you would buy for yourself, imagine how you would use this money to make a difference in the world. Feel the joy of being able to pay off your parents' mortgage. Experience the satisfaction of funding scholarships for deserving students. Imagine the tears of gratitude in the eyes of someone whose medical bills you've just covered. Feel what it's like to walk through life, knowing that you have the power to transform situations, to turn desperation into hope, to be an answer to someone's prayers. As you imagine these scenarios night after night, something profound happens to your consciousness. You begin to associate money not with personal gratification, but with the power to serve, to heal, to elevate. This shift in association transforms your entire relationship with abundance, and abundance responds by manifesting in your experience. But remember this crucial point. You must feel these generous acts as already accomplished, not as future possibilities. In your imagination, you have already inherited the money and already blessed others with it. The feeling you're cultivating is not anticipation, but fulfillment, not hope, but completion. Before I close tonight, let me share with you the deepest secret about money that took me years to fully understand. Money is not a thing, it's a relationship. It's the relationship between consciousness and form, between desire and manifestation, between thought and thing. Every dollar is a love letter from the universe, confirming that your consciousness has been received and understood. When you truly grasp this, when you feel in your bones that every financial blessing is the universe saying yes to your assumptions about yourself, then money becomes not just currency but communion. Every transaction becomes a celebration. Every payment becomes a prayer. Every receipt becomes a receipt of divine approval. So tonight, I leave you with this sacred assignment. Go to your mirror and look into your own eyes. Not the eyes of someone who needs money, but the eyes of someone through whom money flows to bless the world. Say these words with the conviction of absolute truth. I am the energy of money. I am the vehicle of abundance. I am the channel through which infinite supply flows to accomplish infinite good. Feel these words not as affirmations, but as recognitions of what has always been true. You are not trying to become abundant. You are remembering that abundance is your nature. You are not trying to attract wealth. You are accepting that wealth is your birthright as a child of the infinite. The kingdom of abundance is not above you, not around you, but within you. Stop seeking it outside yourself and claim it where it has always been, in the wonderful world of your own imagination. And from that world of imagination, watch as your assumed wealth becomes your experienced wealth, as your imagined abundance becomes your lived abundance. You have the power, my friends. You have always had the power. Tonight decide to use it, not just for yourself, but for the elevation of all humanity. For when you prosper in consciousness, you create a template of possibility that others can follow. Your wealth becomes their hope. Your abundance becomes their inspiration. Go now and become the energy of money itself. The world is waiting for the wealth that only you can channel. You have the power, my friends. You have always had the power. Tonight decide to use it, not just for yourself, but for the elevation of all humanity. For when you prosper in consciousness, you create a template of possibility that others can follow. Your wealth becomes their hope. Your abundance becomes their inspiration. Go now and become the energy of money itself. The world is waiting for the wealth that only you can channel. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I will see you in the next video.